Okay, here are your notes for section 2.4 in algebra. We're still solving equations. Get a calculator and have it handy. Plan on showing every step because now we're solving multi-step equations. Instead of just one or two steps, we're going to take more. And to solve multi-step equations, you're going to be asked first to simplify, then to solve. First simplify, then solve. So it's going to take more steps. You can go ahead and take a look at this the way it's written. 8x, write it down, minus 3x minus 10 equals 20. As you can see, we have a lot going on this side of the equation. We're going to try to balance it with this side of the equation. Let's leave the x's over there. Our goal is still to get the variable by itself. We'll leave the x's over there, try to get all numbers over here. It says first simplify, then solve. We have worked before on combining like terms. So by simplify, they mean if there's anything alike on one side of the equation, go ahead and combine those. 8x minus 3x, because they're on the same side, all you do is exactly what it says. 8 minus 3 is 5. And because the first two are x's, that's an x. And now you have 5x minus 10 equals 20. We simplified, and now we have a two-step solving problem, just like we did in our previous section. So you should be pretty comfortable with this as we've been working on it, but it does take that extra step to get there. Now it's a two-step solving. Step one is always to undo any addition and subtraction. Whatever you do on one side of the equation, plus 10, you have to do to the other side of the equation, plus 10. 5x equals 10 plus 20 is 30. We're keeping everything balanced. Keep your x's on this side of the equation. Keep your numbers on this side of the equation. We have one more number to go. We want to get rid of that 5. So you divide by 5 here. Whatever you do on that side, you do again on this side. And you end up with x equals 6. And another friendly reminder, if it starts as an equation, it ends as an equation. X equals 6. Even though it's a little more complicated, you can still check your answer. You just grab a calculator and type in to that calculator 8 times 6 minus 3 times 6. You put the 6 in for both x's. And minus 10 equals, and when you hit equals, it'll tell you it's 20. 8 times 6 minus 3 times 6 minus 10 equals 20. I'm trying to get rid of the glare there for you, but it's not really working. Equals 20. Maybe if I put it, oh, that's worse. Anyway, type it into your calculator. Prove that you got it right before you go on to the next round. Okay, let's try another one, a different kind of simplifying. This is going to take an extra step yet. Go ahead and take the time to write it down. 7x plus 2 parentheses x plus 6 equals 39. So instead of only having like terms that you have to combine, when it says simplify, we do have to do the distributive property. Hold on one second. I don't think we're doing the distributive property until tomorrow. Oh, yeah, we've got distributive property. I was thinking it was a different section. So let's practice. The distributive property has to go first. We have got to get rid of those parentheses. Leave the 7x alone, exactly where it is. Plus, and now we're going to go 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 6 is 12. And it equals 39. So we did that first step of clearing and getting rid of any parentheses, and now we're right back to the problem that we had before, and that you have to combine like terms. If you have 7 x's and you add 2 x's to them, you end up with 9 x's. 9x plus 12 equals 39. Minus 12 from both sides. Always undo addition and subtraction first. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. You sick of me saying that yet? 9x equals 27. And lucky for us, it's nice when it comes out to be a whole number. 27 divided by 9, x equals 3. Typing that back into the calculator to check your answer. 7 times 3 plus 2 parentheses 3 plus 6 parentheses equals. So it is getting a little bit more cumbersome to check it and put it in our calculator, but it's still worth the time. You don't have to write the instructions down again. Solve, then check your answer. Go ahead, write this one down. It's like the first one if you have to go back and look at it. Pause, finish it, and then come back to the video and see if you got it right. I'll pause mine too. Okay, I'm back. If you got D equals 4 by combining like terms, subtracting and dividing, you're good to go. If not, pause the video and go back and look at my steps and fix what you did wrong on yours. We'll do another one the same way. This is a practice one, so this looks like the second problem that we did, where you have to do the distributive property first, and then combine like terms, then adding, subtracting, and then dividing. So there's a 4-step problem here, but we already know 2 of the steps before today, so we're basically just adding 2 more. Go ahead and try it on your own, pause it, and come back to the video. And we're back. If you did the distributive property, and then combined like terms, subtracted, and divided to get down to W equals 3, you're good to go, and you're feeling good about this. If not, pause it and follow my steps. Make sure you check. But now we have to be careful with this problem. Little tiny issue. Actually, it's not tiny. It's huge. Huge because whether I'm teaching algebra, geometry, when I've taught algebra 2, pre-calc, the same mistake continues to happen to students over and over, even though we've taught it way back in freshman year, algebra 1. And that is because this time you have 6x minus 2, and then parentheses x minus 5 equals 46. What you are expected to do is drop down the 6x. We're going to use it again. And then here, what you're distributing isn't a negative, or isn't a 2, it's actually a negative 2. So you're wanting to take negative 2 times x, which is negative 2x. No problem. Most students do that just fine. But then they see this negative right here, and they drop it down and take 2 times 5 is 10. That's not okay. Don't do this. You are taking a negative 2 times a negative 5, or remember we've talked about this as the opposite. What's the opposite of 2 times negative 5, or what's a negative times a negative? That should be a positive 10. So many common mistakes of just dropping down that negative, when really it's a negative times a negative, which is a positive. If you get that part wrong, it's going to throw off the whole rest of your problem. So be careful with the negative times the negative. Then from here on out, we combine like terms and get 4x plus 10 equals 46, and we're right back to a previous lesson of 2-step solving equations. Minus 10, minus 10. But as you can see, as these problems keep getting longer and longer, you definitely don't want to make a mistake all the way back up at the beginning, because it's going to throw off your whole problem, and you've done all these steps for nothing if you just miss that negative up there. Divide by 4, you end up with x equals 9. And you can plug that back in to check your answer. All right, I'm giving you pretty much the exact same procedure. A distributive property with a negative, where you're going to have to distribute, combine like terms, add, and divide. Try it, pause it. Don't cheat on this and then just be like, oh, I'll just watch the video and do what she does. No, pause it, do it yourself, walk yourself through the steps, look at your notes, be ready for your daily quiz tomorrow, and then check and see if you got it right. I'm pausing mine. Distribute the negative, combine like terms, subtract, divide. A equals 3. Make sure you not only distribute the negative, but you also distribute the 3 with it. You should get negative times a negative is positive 18 right there. Use your calculators when subtracting and dividing so as not to make a silly mistake. Last problem. You're going to love this. Wait till you see this problem. Yeah, our favorite, fractions. Fractions are fun. Fractions are our friends. Fractions are on our calculators, so we don't have to do them by hand anymore. Write down the problem. 3/4 z minus 6 equals 12. Now, if you're listening to me right now, are you listening? Hello? Don't do what I'm about to do right now. I'm going to show you what you think you're going to do, and I'm going to say, don't do this. You don't like fractions. So why would you take that fraction and turn it into 3 more fractions? 3/4 times z is 3/4 z. 3/4 times 6 is -9/2, and that equals 12. You want to do the math from there? You just made 2 fractions out of 1 fraction. And then you would have to add 9/12 to both sides and make another fraction out of that. 3/4 z equals, I don't even know what that equals. 24 and 9 is probably 33/2. And then you multiply by the reciprocal. That part, hopefully you remember. At least you're getting rid of a fraction that time. And you get z equals, and if you multiply by 4/3 over here, you end up with 22. Z equals 22. That's messy. I hope you were listening when I said don't do this, because there's a nice, simple, easy shortcut to this. Exact same problems with the shortcut. Go ahead and write it down if you haven't yet. We don't want that fraction. We want to get rid of that fraction. Instead of distributing through the fraction through the parentheses, we can multiply by the reciprocal first. If you see a fraction with parentheses, this is the only time it works, a fraction that you were going to distribute, if you multiply by that reciprocal and do the same over here, as long as you do to one side what you do to the other, that not only gets rid of the fraction, it also gets rid of the parentheses, because we have nothing left to distribute. Z minus 6, you have 1 fraction problem to do on your calculator. What is 12 times 4/3? 12 times 4 fraction 3 is 16. You just went from all of this mess, if you use the distributive property, to 2 steps. Multiply by the reciprocal, add 6 to both sides. Still the same result, but wouldn't you much rather do the shortcut? Okay, if there's a fraction times a parenthesis, multiply by the reciprocal, get rid of it. All right, that's all I have for you. These problems are going to take a little bit longer because there's 3 and 4 steps to them, and you're going to have to lay it all out and show all the work. Don't do any of it in your head. Don't forget to distribute negatives. Get rid of fractions if you can, and take your time, do your assignment, check your answers, make sure you're doing it right. So this is it for section 2.4 with multi-step equations.